make sure everything keeps moving, all the hard work that we've done continues to move forward, understanding where we are right now. So can we just go around and do quick check-ins just to see how everyone's doing before we get started?
Okay.
How are you?
I'm good. Feeling pretty excited for break.
Oh yes, 4 days. 4 days. Matt, how are you?
I'm feeling a little tired right now, and also excited for break.
John, how are you?
I'm doing pretty well. It's been a very busy few weeks here, a lot of meetings, but we'll see what this week brings.
Good. Amanda, how are you?
I'm good. I was also very sick over the last week or so I'm still tired, but I have the most energy I've had in a while. So
Oh, you're on the other side of it.
I'm on the upside of things.
Sheila?
I'm hanging in there, doing all right.
Good. Beth?
I'm good, a little tired, but I'll make it through this week.
Good.
Right.
I'm actually still fighting a cold, trying to get rid of it, hopefully before break so I can enjoy my break. We'll see how that goes. Thanks for checking in. So actually, I'll go back to staff reduction. So to date, we are slotted for 12 staff reductions. Of course, it's not final until the board meeting. So as a school community, we're just trying to stay positive, stay strong. As an admin team, we're trying to brainstorm possible scenarios if need be. And how do we keep things moving forward, minus 12 people. So that's where we are with that right now. So for the state visit, please feel free to jump in. The 4 main items discussed were the items that you're aware of: the chronic absenteeism, school safety, the CCTM model, and then math instruction. So this is the slide that I shared with them, just updated on our chronic absenteeism. So our first visit, we had 20.3% chronic absenteeism. Currently, we're up to 28.89%, which is an increase of about 9%. And then we were definitely impacted by the immunizations. So we had 6 sixth grade students whose attendance went from anywhere from good standing to chronic due to them not having their immunizations. And then we had 2 other siblings that were impacted because once the 6th grader didn't come, that student also didn't come in another grade level that was a sibling. So if you take that out, our chronic absenteeism rate would be 26.2, which is still an increase. And keeping in mind our target is 41. So we're about halfway through the year and we're halfway toward that 41%. So we're going to keep our measures in place that we have for our students that are chronic, our home visits, reaching out to the families, our incentives to try and keep it where it needs to be. Also understanding that once a student becomes chronically absent, there's no reversing that. So we also have to focus on our at-risk students to make sure they don't cross over. Any questions about that? And if you just look at the chart for a second, that just shows you the far side, the percent. So you can, see where our hot spots are. So at 6th grade, we have 42% in that grade level alone, which is pretty high.
So can I ask you a question?
Sure, please.
Your chronic absenteeism, how many days do they have to be absent to make it
That's a
chronic?
great question. 18.
18? Oh my God.
So, and let me clarify, because there's severely chronic, and there's chronic and then there's severely chronic. So the way the state looks at it, they combine those 2 categories together.
So you're saying in grade 1, 12 of those kids were,
At about, actually, they're going to be both. So that number there doesn't show the severe. So severe is 18 or more. So they can be anywhere from I think it's, Beth, is it like 11? I think it's 11 for the severe, for the chronic, and then the severe is 18.
but that's still 12 kids that have been absent at least 11 or 12 times?
Yes.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, that is something we gotta work on. See?
It's high. And then this is our updated behavior, and I didn't bring my cheat sheet, so I'm gonna try to guesstimate. Beth, you gotta help me, because I had a cheat sheet that broke down the numbers a little bit more. So I know our referrals increased from about 80 to 188 over the last visit. The last visit was in October. Our incidences, I think we had 25, I need my cheat sheet. I think we had 25 incidences this reporting cycle, and we're up to like 45 incidences total. And we, per our district's goal, we need to stay under 138. So we're doing really, really well there. I'm hopeful that we'll meet that. But we've definitely seen an increase of referrals and incidences over the past reporting period. And you know our model. And then the thing about math instruction that I've updated the state about is that we have adopted a school-wide word problem solving strategy, and it's called the CESE. And students will close read the math problem first, then they'll evaluate, then they'll solve and check. And we've been going through the PD for this last week, and we will continue that this week as well. We've also created our framework with 100 minutes of math daily. And we've done some long-range pacing because the state test changed the month in which it was given, so we need to go back and revamp it to make sure all content was covered. And then we also have PDs with math leads monthly as well. Hey, Crystal, welcome. And now this is the part that I really need your help on. If we could take some time to brainstorm some things we can do to keep moving us forward, and also brainstorm some ideas in terms of thinking forward in case we lose the 12 staff members. And or we can talk about, or we can go to our 3 different groups, the restorative, the community engagement, and the instructional. So how would you like to utilize our time? Because I see all 3 ways being beneficial, but I just don't know where you are right now.
I think we should do it all together.
You want to do it all together? Okay. So if we want to come into some kind of little circle and we can just have topics, I'm going to sort of try and hang out here because I'm going to try and capture this as we talk through it. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm just going to
Not if you're still sick.
I'll just grab that. Not bad.
Is it yours?
All right. What's on your mind? Any probing questions? Okay, we can jump right into problem solving. So, I've already spoken to my school chiefs about about not continuing on with ELT. ELT has been a challenge. Sheila, you've worked with me, thank you, but it's been a challenge. And the reason it's been a challenge is because we're not fully staffed. When I first signed on to do ELT, it was every person was going to stay to the 4:30 time, so it really was a true extension of the day. And then toward the start of school, I got word that I could only have about half the staff stay on. So we really tried to make it work, but at this point, I think it's becoming more of a hindrance than a help for students. So anyone wanted to brief? I know a lot of you are involved in that.
How does that work with moving forward with the buses and all the kids? That means 3:30 dismissal or 4:30 dismissal?
That means we'll go back to a 3:30 dismissal.
And that would start in January?
That's what I'm hopeful for. I requested that it would start after the
The
break,
break.
so it's a natural, so I can send some communication to parents. Transportation will have time to, just get us on an earlier route. So I'm just waiting to hear the final yes. So some things that we'll be losing is that some grade levels are really using that time effectively academically, and teachers have to rethink their day because they were using the 3 days as academics as a social studies / science time, and now they'll have to work that back into their school day.
Does it affect anything as far as, I can't remember what the term was,
but I know when we had to like create that document a couple months ago, that was one of our indicators.
Yes.
So do we have to pick a different indicator?
No, good point, because I did also do my homework and I
Yeah.
checked to make sure that we would make our indicator even if we did not continue to be an ELT school. So right now, we've met that indicator if we don't even continue like tomorrow.
Well,
So-
that's good then.
So our indicator is not in jeopardy at this point. We've fulfilled it.
Now, is there the state was not providing any funding for that ELT?
There is a grant for ELT that we participate. There's a district level grant.
Mhm.
So we just wouldn't participate, and it's my understanding that the funds will just go back into the ELT grant, and the schools still participating would benefit from those
Okay.
dollars. Nothing else around ELT. How did you two feel about ELT? 'Cause I know you participate. I think it was beneficial, not beneficial.
I think it was beneficial for me with middle school and not very beneficial with elementary school.
Okay.
But I could have just had a rough bunch of fifth graders.
In fifth grade, huh?
Yep.
Yeah, certainly over the years, back when 44 was in receivership, we talked with a lot of the teachers, and the principal thought that by the end of the day, the kids were really burned out, and the ELT wasn't as effective as people hoped it was. But I don't know how you're experiencing it here.
And tell me if I'm wrong. So I think when if there were 4 adults and they could continue the day as they did the normal day, I don't think it would have been as much of an issue or concern. I think it's the end of the day, which is always the hardest part of the day, and you're down 2 staff members
Mm-hmm.
at the same time is what makes it challenging.
Sure.
I don't know. I mean, do
Yeah,
you
and,
do you think
especially like kindergarten and first grade, like the real young ones, it is a very long day for them. Some of the kindergartners are taking a nap during ELT time because they're done, they're very tired.
So the other thing I did want to brainstorm is that ELT is going away. There's this teacher reduction on the table. So I just want to be as prepared as I can be. I obviously, want all of the teachers to stay, but I don't have control over that. So I just want to know, what things do you think we can do as a CET team to ensure instruction continues, even if staff is reduced? So I was thinking about our partnership with Geneseo, and if there's a way that we could ensure that the grade levels that are going to be impacted at the very least have a student teacher or a practicum student that comes in on a routine basis to try and support the teams there.
I know that I'll have a group in the spring. It's a smaller group, it's only 16. And they usually come on Fridays. But since I don't have 2 sections, they'll probably be here in the morning on Fridays. I can see about the early childhood group that came in that Dr. I can't think of her name right now, but she reached out to you. I'm not sure if they have a practicum in the spring.
Okay.
But I do know that was at least 2 groups that were coming in. I think they came in on Wednesdays.
Yes.
And we came in on Fridays.
So that would just
So-
be a Wednesday, Friday thing.
Yeah, because the way it is built into their schedules. If it was open, then it probably could work. But since it's set into their schedules that they come in on Fridays because there are other classes they have throughout the semester, I can talk to our director of student teaching to see if she needs placements for student teachers.
We have one set up for 4th grade, but it'll be in the afternoon because the student has other commitments through RTC or something. So.
But we can see if there's student teachers that need placements that can definitely come in. And of course, if
Help
it's
them
student
out.
teaching, then they come in every day.
And so, do you have any student teaching candidates?
We do for the spring. I have to look to see if there's any placements, but we definitely, most of them are in the fall, but we definitely do need some in the spring too.
Okay.
So I can talk to see if there's any she's still needing a placement for.
Any other ideas? So I'm thinking, we need people that can come into the building, come into the classroom. It doesn't have to be an academic thing. Maybe it's a social emotional thing, but it still just leverages or gives us the small groups that our model, prides itself on. So how can we creatively still ensure that we're meeting with kids in these small groups, although we're down a person?
I know sometimes you take 5th grade math groups. Is that something that, or I could check in with the 5th or 6th grade teams and see if that, or other teams that are losing a teacher, and say, okay, when are the times when you are splitting up into small groups? When are those times throughout the day? And does it make sense for me to take a few students?
And maybe if we look at our support staff that way and try and align a support person with a grade level.
And then when I come in on Wednesdays, wherever I'm needed, I can be in those classrooms.
I don't know if you can get any volunteers from the neighborhoods. I know a lot of the ones from the 19th Ward are pretty much tied up with School 16, which is the local school they've been most involved with, and some were involved with 10. But, that's something that I don't know if Plex or any of the folks in the Plex neighborhoods. I can check also with Eleanor Coleman, who's been here once or twice. She's heading up the Rotary, and maybe they would be interested. In fact, they have partnered with Rotaract, I think it is, which is the U of R Rotary of students. I don't know if any of them would have time slots that they might be able to commit to. I can look into that. There's also a list of presidents of neighborhood associations in Rochester I have access to. I can check and see if there's some interest amongst those groups, because each of those people generally has a list of their own neighborhood associations that they can farm questions out to. And in fact, I should try to reach out to them over the whole budget dilemma we're in right now. We met this morning, the Rochester Coalition for Public Education met with Harry Bronson to talk about, legislation and what can we do, and he thought that getting people to write in to the governor was probably the most productive things right now to try to get, a $30 million bailout for the remainder of this year. There'll still be some cuts come June, but if at least we can avoid disrupting all the classes between now and then. So perhaps reaching out to the neighborhoods would be a good thing, if nothing else, than to trigger a lot of mailing in about the budget issue, looking at the whole picture here. And also if we can get some folks to come in, a day a week or something, to do some help, that would be good.
Can definitely do that. Can have Omar reach out as well. So how do you feel about, or I know this is instructional as well, but how do you feel about continuing with the club's idea, but we have a shorter day? So Sheila, what if we still did our Flint Street clubs, just the small groups, so there wouldn't be like that big middle school group anymore? But if we just aligned it with a grade level on a rotating basis?
We definitely would like to do a K2 Rock Kids Read program with 10 of your kids. That would be K2 or under with 10 kids. And we could fit that into, even if you didn't have the extended program, even into the 2:30 to 3:30 slot. But if we could get 10 of your K2 kids, we could definitely do the Rock Kids Read program for you. And that's something that my commissioner's really pushing. So we could definitely help you out with that.
So
And that's even from 2:30 to 3:30 or 3:30 to 4, I mean, if they don't come back. And we would be able to do, I know your little kids love the little arts and crafts
They do.
group, but we can't do it every day for
Okay.
arts and crafts. That was the problem. But we can do a gym group every day. So, because I'm like down to staff too. I'm like really have 2 staff, more or
Okay.
less 3 at the most. But if somebody's missing, and when you come with 3 groups, then it's like, so that's why I like 2, 3 groups at the most. But from the 2:30 to 4:30 range, I have less staff because my other staff comes in at 4:30. That's the problem.
okay.
So, but we could definitely do 2 groups, even from 2:30 to 3:30, even if there wasn't an ELT. So if that could help.
Well, Beth is my K2 person.
Oh,
So how do you think that'll go? Because I don't know the program. I know it's through Rock the Future, right?
it's Rock Kids Read program. It's, you
I met
know,
with Camille about it. So I just don't
Okay.
know.
it's a
if
half-hour program, you know, where they do like the little syllables, and they just, more or less it's a play thing, and they get a treat.
Because kindergarten has links that they do on Tuesdays and Wednesdays at that same time, I think a little earlier. But yeah, I'm sure first grade and second grade could have.
'Cause what I'm
It's only 10
thinking-
kids.
It's only 10
5
kids, yeah, and it's
from
only a
each.
half hour, and it doesn't have to be every day, but it could, it's supposed to be 5 days a week, like the half-hour program.
So
10
one
kids.
one group will go for 1.5 hour, and then another group will go the same day for another half hour. How would that look? Like 10 kids from 2 to 2:30, and then 10 more kids from 2:30 to 3? Like, how does it look? How could it
We
look?
could do that if you needed to do that, yeah, we could do 20 kids. But we only have like the one instructor, she'd have to do back-to-back groups, yeah, because it's just, she's the only one that's trained, Ms. Trevon. But the bad thing is she's the one that would be doing arts and crafts too. So see, I can't, you know, so really reading is what we need more than arts and crafts, you know what I mean? And then we have Buck Tim who would do the gym program. And then I have a part-timer who I could get in there, but not 5 days a week, 3 days a week.
Okay.
So that's the problem.
What are you thinking?
So for the reading, would it be like how many days a week?
We could do the reading 5 days a week. Or if you wanted it, only 3 days, however you guys wanted to structure it, you know what I mean? But that's one of the things that our commissioner wants to see pushed. And, you know, our kids do the vocabulary when they get out at 4:30, but that's just so quick, we're out of that. But most of our kids are doing vocabulary, that's the other thing we do. And then we also have the Great Leaps program. I don't know if your kids qualify for that, or, you know, that's like ages, you know, third grade and we, like I said, we could definitely do that, and that's what they want to see, and we could do it from 2:30 to 3:30.
Could someone else possibly do arts and crafts? So like, would one of you be willing to pull maybe a small group to do, could Matt or Alex go down and work with like a group of 5 or 6?
Sure, and you know what, Trevon's really good about getting materials and everything ready, you know what I mean? She already has everything ready for them when they come down, and she just presents it, and then they do their little project. That would be fine, it's just that, like I said, and even if I have staff that day, we could do it. But like I said, just like even today, you know, one of my staff called in, and then we just, you know, 3 of us, so.
Yeah, we had like everybody.
You
else.
know, so that's my dilemma, you know, and like I said, from 2:30 to 4:30, most of my staff have other jobs. And they can't get there till 4:30. So basically, we have 3 other staff and me, so there's 4 of us till then.
Okay.
So that's the, you know, and we have the younger kids, the youth workers, who could always do the arts and crafts too. But they're, you know, youth workers, and they come after school too.
Mhm. You know what, we do have our Spanish teacher who's here the rest of the day now.
Oh, she is.
Yes. So maybe that's something she would be interested in
Float,
doing. She can float and pull some groups and.
And what about the gym program? Would you still want that or no? Because if you don't want the gym program, we could definitely do an arts and crafts program. Even Tim could do that.
You guys know the kiddos, help me. What do you think? What do you think they need? Do you think they'll benefit from?
In terms of using like kind of doing a similar rotation to what we do now, but just shift with clubs at the end of the day, but shifting it to be from 2:30 to 3:30.
Yes, but I'm thinking, and I probably should be clear because I'm thinking out loud, so I don't have this ironed out. Please don't think I do because I do not. But I'm thinking, how can we still give them that club feel? Not every day, not every, definitely hone in. And to be honest, probably not middle school. We're just looking at K6, unless you guys still want to pull your middle school groups. But that middle school thing was too much. I thought it was too
The
much.
5th and 6th graders were terrible, or the older ones?
No, 7th and 8th.
Yeah, 7th, yeah, they were
Yeah.
terrible. They just run amok and hung out in the hall and did whatever they wanted to do and ran both sides of the gym. Yeah.
But I'm really thinking.
But the other ones seem to be good.
I'm just thinking, they already have recess. They have PE. So I don't know what you think. Like, do we need another activity? You do more crafts?
If they have all that physical activity.
Yeah, I think if we do something, my like approach would be to, like if I was assigned to 5th graders in the next semester, I would want to like ask them what they wanted to do, because I think it just makes it so much easier in terms of the buy-in, and I think at least like for 5th grade, there's a lot of interest in STEP right now, and so I think that would be something that they would want to do. I was thinking to myself, I was like, oh, if the day gets shortened now, maybe that means that then there's like openings at the very end of the day to do something similar to Bible Club, where if parents are willing to pick up their children or live in the neighborhood, then the Gandhi could have a 1 day a week thing of students who are really invested and want to do it and want to be there. And then in my mind, the buy-in is the hardest part, so then the buy-in's already there. And so then we can actually accomplish
I
what
didn't
we
think
want
about
to
that.
accomplish.
And if there were kids interested in like STEP, they could still do that during they could have STEP club during their recess time with somebody to do it with them, so they're still getting that kind of club.
And they could even do step down in our gym if they had somebody to instruct them during their club time. We just don't have a step instructor. But the gym would still be available and they could do step in there. Because you're right, a lot of the girls like the step.
I have a question and also
Double bunch.
many questions. But if teachers were using ELT to teach instruction, which I'm not super clear if you were supposed to be doing, because I thought ELT was not instruction time. But if teachers were using it as instruction time, not having ELT would really take that extra time away from them. So would they want to, would they have time to teach everything that they feel like they need to teach, including the 100 minutes of math in a day, and also do activities like arts and crafts and extra reading time?
Good point.
So that is the biggest dilemma. So some grade levels, not all, but they were using that time as an extension time. So to really dig into social studies, which historically we have not taught a lot of social studies or a lot of science. So I know for 4th grade, they spend 2 days doing experiments. So it's not the heavy lift of science that you would do during the day. It's the hands-on experiment part that kids thrive on and they love. So when they do that at the end of the day, the kids are totally bought in. So it's not like regular instruction, if that makes any sense.
Mhm.
It's more of a hands-on, experimental
Project-based.
/ extension, project-based.
We could do a STEM program too, or a STEAM program if you need one too.
And you pull that out your back pocket?
No, we have a.
Ooh, I'm
a
like,
new-
what?
We have, our new program coming up is STEAM, and Corey is going to be teaching it for our kids, and he's available from 3 to 7 every day. And he's supposed to do STEAM because that's the grant that he's supposed to do it for. So I can have him do a STEM class, STEAM, whatever they're calling it
Would he be able to
nowadays.
come over and do it in the classroom? or-
He sure could.
Yes. What was his name?
Corey Brooks. You know, like if you wanted it Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, or Tuesday and Thursday, or whatever, I just have to let his boss know when we're doing it, and they would schedule him, and that's what he's getting paid for. So if he can do 3 STEM classes for you, that would only help us and him. Because the more he does, the better it is for the grant and for him to get paid.
So the kids all packed up before 3 o'clock, all their stuff ready, and so you can do from 3 to 3:30, and then we're back to.
Yeah, he's been doing it. He's been doing it for the Bureau, so he's fun and good. He knows what he's doing.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
trained in it.
Oh, that was just a gift.
Mhm.
That's wonderful.
Mhm. Yeah, just let me know, and like I said, I can switch him around. But right now, he's working 3 to 7.
And we'll follow the same procedure. They'll just make sure they have a rec card. our
Well,
card.
yeah, but if he's doing it in your classroom, we won't even have to do that. We'll just take attendance. You know, like from like we just put down Rochester City School District clubs. You know, 10,
That's
12,
huge
whatever.
for us.
Mhm.
And what ages?
Whatever. I think he can do any ages for STEM. He's used to doing anywhere from 6 to 15.
It might be good for 8th grade as we're getting closer to the exam, breaking them into small groups. Oh, that's really good, Sheila. Ooh.
Yeah, he's got a whole binder on it and everything. That's what he's supposed to do. That's what he does. And his other job is rec on the move. You know where they bring the
Yes,
trucks?
we love Rec on the Move. Mhm.
He's rec on the move. That's what he
Okay.
does. So, but since they don't have rec on the move in the winter, he's with me
Okay.
till spring starts. So we'll use him.
This is good stuff. Amanda, any thoughts?
Feel a little called out.
No, I mean
Nah,
just
I'll be
on
back.
any ways that we could better utilize our partnership with Greater Rochester Health Foundation and
Yeah, so I did talk to John and I told him that basically the funds at this point, the funds and the support of our team, I told him I wanted you guys to really think about using us in flexible and creative ways because, so yeah, I feel like maybe that would be the best way to go about that. I mean, you don't need to go through the team. I mean, that's something that funding is at your discretion this year. I've shared that before, but maybe that would be a good idea to kind of like just adjust some of the goals that you have to match these same goals. And again, work on aligning.
any ideas and anyone have any ideas on like anything we could realign the goals to? So, thinking about, are we on the right track in thinking, trying to keep the model intact as much as we can? Or do we need to look at something else the students need even more as we move forward, especially if these cuts do get approved at the board meeting?
That's what I was wondering.
I mean, and I apologize because this could be all for naught. Like, I'm secretly crossing my fingers right now. Like, this
Right.
conversation is all for nothing. But
That's what I was wondering about, how intact would the model be and would the teachers
so
feel
honestly,
overwhelmed when you lose one and you have that many students in a classroom?
I'm really
That was
concerned
my
about that.
concern. I'm just thinking of second grade, for instance. You're just going to have one core teacher in there.
Well, they will have to. They'll have to have
They'll
two,
have to have
because
two,
they're
okay.
an ICT classroom, but
Okay.
it might be a different person.
Right.
which is still going to be pretty traumatic
Right.
for students mid-year. I mean, it's not like a pregnancy. They're like, oh, you're having a baby, you'll come back. Like,
Right.
this is pretty final.
Some grade levels have been looking at how to do their day with just 3 adults instead of 4. So how can they rearrange the groupings? How can they make kids work more independently in certain areas? So they have been working on that. But yeah, it's just the kids will have a little less support.
And we're also, like, from our end, I'm just constantly going through the staffing, trying to see how I can provide more support to each grade level at different times. So more effectively utilizing the staff that we have in the building. So that they just don't service one grade level, and they may now need to service 3 grade levels. So that's what I came up with the idea of. If we sort of keep clubs going on, kids I think would be really happy about that. And also hopefully it'll decrease the number of students in front of adults so they could still at least 3 times a week have those small groups, that small group instruction. So I'll go through the list of things we brainstormed, and then if we want to talk about some action items or things we need to look into or dig into a little bit deeper, we can. So Crystal talked about having 16 students come next semester. They'll be here on Wednesdays and Fridays. Crystal will follow up on the number of student teachers that we have, and she'll also make herself available when she's here on Wednesdays to pull small groups as well. Matt added the way that I'm currently doing math groups if we looked at support staff differently and if everyone sort of aligned with the grade level and pulled a group at a specific time to support or go in and support with a specific group. John shared about reaching out to the neighborhoods, Plex, the Rotary through the U of R, and sending letters. And I also wrote down churches because there are some churches that we're affiliated with directly too. Sheila talked about Rock Kids Read, 10 students there. She also talked about Corey Brooks doing the STEAM project and also offering arts and crafts. We do have another staff member that's half day here that wasn't always full-time, but she will be full-time, so utilizing her. Matt also talked about having after-school clubs, true after-school clubs like the Bible Club, where parents will be willing to come in and pick up. Amanda talked about revisiting the plan and our SMART goals to make them align to what we really need to do, so then that way we can fund some of those things that really need to happen for kids. Did I miss anything? You said you had more questions, Alex.
I think I just had multiple layers to the same question.
Oh. So did we want to talk about some next steps? I mean, I know the biggie is what happens on Thursday. But even so, again, I'm really hoping to be done with the extended day. So I really still want to think through what other options or things we can offer students
Now,
throughout the day.
doing away with the extended day, that would be irrespective of what happens Thursday?
Yes, it would
Okay.
be.
And as far as needing people to work in the, I'm just thinking if, I mean, we can blanket, mail to people saying we're looking for volunteers. These are some of the situations we have at this school and that school. We need to get people involved. It's an opportunity for groups, neighborhood groups or whatever, to try to reach out to more people to get them involved. Of course, it always helps if you get people lined up to do something, that there's something to do.
Right.
Even if things change and you don't lose all your teachers right now, can you incorporate any volunteers one way or the other, whether we have the the need for them in the rooms? Would there be a space for them?
I'm thinking we can, because I'm thinking just 2 things off the top of my head. The fact that we use Lexio, which is a computer-based reading program, and we use Zern, which is a math-based computer program. Students constantly need someone to sit with them, to support them through, to help them through. So we can definitely utilize the volunteers, and they'll have something to do every time they come in. And actually, that's part of the model too, is to have the 4 adults and then the volunteer piece, which we haven't done so great at currently. But we definitely have things for volunteers to do.
Okay. Because, always try to make lemonade out of the lemons that come along, and this is an opportunity to reach out to people and try to motivate people who otherwise might not be so inclined. And hopefully we come out of it with the teachers staying plus volunteers coming in.
That would be that would be fantastic. That's the other layer to the model that, like I said, we haven't been as effective with to date. So yes, we absolutely, and because I know how it feels to volunteer and then you go there and then there's really nothing to do. You're sitting around looking. But we do have concrete things that volunteers can do. And if they don't want to be in the classroom, we have one volunteer who comes into the library. She organizes, she sorts, she reads stories. So we can definitely align their interest with
Yeah.
something here at school.
Okay. Well, we'll pull out all stops then. If you've got something you can send me that says, okay, we're going to lose this and this if things don't come
So I'll write that
along.
as an action item.
And I'll look at getting something sent out to the president's group and also to the local groups that I've got contact with here, and we'll see where we go from there.
So I just want to be clear, Jen, so you want me to send you sort of like a little advertisement, like a blurb of the different
Yeah,
volunteer type positions? we
volunteer
have?
type things you have here, and as I send something out, I can say many of the other schools are going to have the same sorts of needs. We need, number one, we need to have you email the governor right now to try to get some money cut loose so that we don't have to lose all these teachers, but either way, we'd like to get volunteers into the schools to help us through this year, because one way or the other, come June, you're going to be facing a tough year next year.
I can definitely do that, thank you. So, go ahead.
This is like a little off topic, not as much planned for the rest of the year, but what about like worst case scenario on Friday? Like what support do you guys need immediately? Like anything, like, and this is, I again brought this up to John and I kind of just let it sit with him for a little bit, but anything as far as like, whether it's manpower or it's funding or it's literally anything. And maybe we could help, maybe we couldn't. But as this potentially happens, like, where are you going to be on Friday? Are there supports you need on Friday? Are there supports you need on January 6th when this is going to be so difficult? Maybe not even long term, but just what do the staff, what do the kiddos need?
I think there's that huge emotional piece.
Yeah,
I'm really worried about on Friday.
I am too.
I'm worried about the adults not being okay, then therefore the kids not being okay. The adults have been fabulous, just so you all know they've been fabulous because they've been sitting with this for over a week now. And I can't imagine how it feels to be one of the people directly impacted. But they've been nothing but professional all the way around. And I'm just dreading if it gets voted to pass, meaning they'll lose their jobs, what Friday is going to look like. So what we've already tried to do to pre-plan was we're having a staff breakfast at 8, and that's earlier than we normally do. Just because I just don't know. I mean, it might be a time to celebrate and cheer. It might be a time to hold people together. I just don't know what Friday is going to look like. I want to be able to offer, if they can't make it or need time to themselves, there's a place that they can go within the building, and someone will be there to just help them through.
That was something that John and I talked about a little bit. He had talked about how the Mindfulness Center was almost ready to go, and that Brianna was maybe going to be coming in over the weekend to help put that together. Did that happen, or do you need hands?
She didn't come in over the weekend, so we probably could use hands to get that organized.
Because-
And I know she's out on Thursday.
Yeah, because I had said to him, even if it's literally like my team, like me, Carrington, and Mata come in, and Aria, and help you put the room together, so that you at least like have a space.
That would be
for
helpful. What do you think?
Yeah.
people to go.
And I like where it's located, so it's secluded enough where they'll have some privacy
Yeah.
within our building.
Yeah. Because I'm just trying to think of, like, what are people going to need on that day to make this as, it's never going to be okay, but as okay as possible. So, and that's why I was trying to say, like, I told them, I was like, come up with creative ways to use this. Like, we're here. Like, we're super here for this. So,
That's a great
if we
way,
just
Amanda.
come in and put furniture together and make a room look pretty, like, we love to do that.
No, that would
That'd be fun anyway.
That
so.
would be fantastic if they
Yeah.
knew they had a place that they can go and just
I think that would be
be.
important.
Because I'm not anticipating people wanting to go home. Although if they do want to go home, I'll make it happen. Because I'm thinking they're going to want to see their kids,
I think so too.
but they might need a break, to go and have their feelings. And
Right, because I mean, we want them to be able to be strong for the kids, but people are human. So
Absolutely.
I feel like they're gonna need that chance to like step back and like feel their feelings so
Yep.
that they don't feel their feelings on the kids.
Mhm.
So yeah.
How much do the students know?
Good question. So middle schoolers know more. Middle schoolers have asked their teachers directly, are you going to be here or not? I've only had one parent, it wasn't even a phone call, I went to a basketball game, so only one parent directly asked me, you know, the extent of the impact, and, you know, I didn't share teachers or names or anything like that, but I just said, you know, significantly, and I said as soon as I have more information, you know, and also pending the board meeting, you know, we'll disclose what we need to, you know, disclose. But the little ones, I think, are pretty oblivious. What do you think?
Yeah, I think some of the teachers have told some of the parents that they know that their kids will have an especially difficult time, but they just have said, do not tell your child until, you know, we actually know. But I just wanted to prepare you to you know, so some of the parents know, but the kids don't. So.
Some of the second graders have had circles about like change and loss and like people moving away. So we're trying to emotionally prepare them, but not, they don't know anything else.
And I really commend staff for being able to hold that close and not, you know, potentially traumatize them twice. Because my fear is that if we told them, they're going to be upset. And I was also hopeful that it might not go through, and then have to come back and say, I'm going to be here now after they've mourned, and then have to go, you know, and then where's the trust after that? Like you told me something and then didn't happen, and I was upset, so when you tell me something else, how can I trust you still? So I just worried about, you know, how a little one would see it. Like they might view that as you lied to me, where the adult really wasn't lying. I don't know if that makes sense, but I think it's better. I think the middle schoolers understand a little bit more. Like it's proposed and it's not final until, you know, they can understand that language. Whereas the little ones are like, you're leaving or not. Like, but staff, they've done a wonderful job. I mean, all of the staff, because the staff members in the building that were affected pretty much shared with the greater community. So everyone has done a great job at being professional and helping each other through.
Will you be telling kids kind of like first thing in the morning so that they have like the day to process and like say goodbye?
I'm gonna
or, like,
I'm gonna leave
it
that up to
them?
the
Yeah.
teachers, how they.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think there's right or wrong way. I don't think there's an easier way if we need to have that conversation. So I'm really gonna trust what the teacher is feeling at that moment. If he or she wants to hold on to it until the end, you know, and then I'll definitely loop parents or have a meeting next to when we come back from break to try and. But I've never gone through this before. Like I've never.
Not like this.
I mean, this displacement. I think it's no. There's one isn't better than the other, but you know, in my heart of hearts, I know when I've had to have displacement conversations, you still have a job. Yes, it's hard because you're leaving this physical building, but you still have a job. Like this is, you don't even have a job if this goes through, which I've never had to, you know.
In the middle of the year.
Yes,
Right.
in the middle of the year.
Torn away from the kids that you've become very attached to.
And not only that, I have to also tell you that a lot of the people that are affected, I recruited. Like these cuts go back 4 years. So some people before me, but a lot of people I like recruited and asked them to trust me and come along with me on this journey, come along with us. And they're the same people that unfortunately I had to say sorry to. So it's been really tough. It's been tough. So any other action items? So that for action items, I know John wants me to send him sort of a hiring sheet of the jobs that are available for volunteers. And I can email Brianna and let her know that you and your team are willing to come and support because we really want the room set up by Thursday in case of Friday. And I can just, can I CC you in on it?
Yeah, definitely. I know, let me think. I don't know if it would be worth just putting right in the email chair since we're on like a short time frame. I do have some free time on Wednesday, and I'm also like, I would be willing to come in like after hours. Like I have a meeting tomorrow, but it ends at like 3:30 and I could come in like late afternoon, evening or something, or I don't know.
And I can
I
help
know
as
we're
well.
working
That's
such
a really
short-
good idea. I'm glad you thought of that because I really didn't.
Yeah.
Because all the things are there. It really just needs to be put together.
Right. And I don't know, I can try to rally up some troops.
That'd be great. So I'm gonna send this tonight.
Okay.
And then in hopes that we can get it going like tomorrow.
Okay.
I appreciate that. And you all are welcome to staff breakfast on Friday. Well, you guys will be there, but you guys are all welcome to staff breakfast on Friday. Hopefully it'll be fun. We'll have something to celebrate. All right, anything else for good order? All right, I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.